Hello, this is Nathan with Albert, part of the team here at UnitConnect Property Management Software. And we are recording a video demo so that you can review this at your leisure and better understand our software and how you can leverage it for your property management business. So Albert, go ahead and take it away.
Thank you, Nathan. As you said, we're going to go through a demo. I'm going to set up a sample property based on some of the sample leases that we have on file. And the example property that we're going to set up is going to be a commercial property with multiple tenants. We hope that this video is going to be helpful for you, and you could use it to set up your property management business using UnitConnect. All right, let me share my screen. All right, so I'm going to sign in to a demo account. This is a brand new account. There's no properties. And we're going to sign up and basically start from scratch. All right, when you sign up, you're going to get a quick message here. This is a small tutorial, but we're going to skip this since we're going to walk you through this in our video. And you can close this out of this message by clicking close. All right, so this is our dashboard. We'll give you some default dashlets here. Again, obviously everything is blank, but we can come back to this once we set up a sample property and you see how things are laid out with some information once we have some information in the system. So one of the first things we're going to do is I'm going to head out to admin. The first thing we're going to do is let's make sure that we have the property management information correct. So let's go into admin, application management, manage application details. All right, so again, we're going to skip this. So this is our management company, the name of the management company. If you're a landlord managing your own properties, then this could be the name of your company, not necessarily the management company. Contact information, this is who your tenants would see as the contact on the tenant portal side. And then this is the address. So we're just going to put in an address. And that's it for now. We're just going to put some basic information, click update. This should save the information about your company. Now, the next thing we're going to do is obviously set up a property. So on the top, we have the main navigation menu. Again, we're going to head over to admin. We're going to click on new property wizard and click go. Again, we're going to skip this. This won't pop up on the next time you visit this page. It only comes up on the first time. So the name of the property, typically it's the LLC that you put in here. So let's just come up with an LLC of the property. So 101 Main Street Holdings LLC, property type. We can put commercial retail, number of units 3, address is 101 Main Street, Flushing, New York 11423. Property size is 5,000 square feet, block and lot 3. Again, this is just arbitrary. Land size is 7,500 square feet. Again, FAR is floor area ratio is 2. This is for information only. We'll click next. The next is the ownership information. If we do have, if this is an LLC, there are members in the LLC, so we would typically put in the owners of the LLC. So we can do that by clicking add. So let's see, again, let's assume the owner is John Smith.
On Main Street. Email address. Member and 100% owner.
And obviously, if you have more owners, you can add additional ones. We're going to leave this at 1. Next, we're going to associate a bank account. Again, this is information only for the system. So the account name is typically it's the same as the property. Just let me go back and see the name of the property. 101 Main Street Holdings. Typically, the name of the bank account, the account name would be the same. Institution Chase Bank. Again, you would enter an amount here if there's an amount. This would be the starting amount. Type checking. I apologize. This is account 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Balance is 100. Nickname. Let's call this operating account. And if you have the address of the bank, again, you can put it here. But again, it's not necessary. So we can just click finish when done. Yes. So what this did is it created our property, our first property. What we're going to do is we're going to go into properties by clicking the properties on the top menu. Again, we'll skip this. So here we see our property and we see the units under this property. Everything is vacant as expected. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go into property units page. So we see the property selected. Now we can go on the actions menu on the left, click on property units. Again, we're going to skip this. Now what the system did is basically created one property with 3 equal units. In the real world, obviously that's hardly ever the case. Could be the case, but let's assume it's not in our example. So what we're going to do is we are going to modify this information. We're going to say this is 101 Main Street, unit number 1, and the size is, let's assume 1,000 square feet. And it's, and the share is 1,000 divided by 5,000. So the share will be 20%. The next space, we'll do the same thing, modify unit. The next store will be 103 Main Street. Let's say this is also 1,000 square feet at 20%. And this one could be the bigger store. Let's modify this again. This is 105 Main Street. So this would be 3,000 square feet and 60%. Right, so we have a building, again, 101, 103, and 105 Main Street, 1,000 square feet, 1,000 square feet, and 3,000 square feet, and they all have the respective percentage share amount. All right, so now all of this is now set up. What we could do is we can create a tenant against each of these spaces. All right, so what we're going to do is we can either create a tenant from here, view tenant, and the system is going to ask us tell us that the space is vacant and whether or not we want to create a new tenant. So we can say yes, or we can go on the properties, click on any of the vacant units, and then click on new tenant. Okay, we're going to skip this again. So let's start creating a tenant. The first tenant, let's assume, is Big Apple Deli, right, which is a deli store. Send bills to is basically the primary address of the unit or the tenant. For now, it's the unit, and we can change that later. Send payments to, this is the primary address of the owner. So in our example, we have 2 options of what the primary address is, either the management address or the address of one of the owners, right? If we would have more owners, they would be displayed here. So let's say we want the primary address for the landlord to be the management address. All right, so let's click next. Lease start. So here's where we enter some of the critical information that's related with the lease. Again, every lease is different, but a lot of commercial leases have well, all commercial leases would have all of this information, and this is where we would enter it. The lease start is the commencement or the start of the lease. So we're going to assume that let's assume January 1, 2023. Let's say it's a 10-year lease, so it would be 12/31/2032. Possession date 01/01/2023, and rent start or rent commencement would be 03/01/2023. Now, the reason why it's different, a lot of cases in commercial real estate, a tenant would have free rent. So in this case, this tenant has 2 months of free rent. Rent due the 5th, but we can change it to the 1st of the month, and late fee after the 5th of the month. Again, this could be changed based on the terms of your lease. Let's change it to 10. Deposit amount, let's say the deposit is $10,000. Whether or not it's adjustable, in some commercial leases, when rent goes up, deposit should be adjusted based on the number of months. So let's click that it's adjustable. Insurance expiration, again, commercial real estate requires that we have that commercial tenants have insurance, and this is if we want to track when their insurance ends or expires, we can add it here. So let's say their insurance expires 12/31/2023. Yes. Pro rata share, now typically in the leases, the pro rata share is defined, and we can define it here as well. So let's say it's 20%, same as the size of same as the share of the store. Tax, CAM, and insurance. Now, this is this section basically tells the system whether or not the tenant is responsible for taxes, common area charges, or insurance. Now, if it's a triple net lease, all of this would be checked, and the type is pro rata share, pro rata share, pro rata share. Right. So this basically says that this is a triple net lease where the tenant is responsible for their pro rata share of taxes, common charges, and insurance. There are other ways to calculate tax responsibility, CAM, or insurance. For instance, there could be gross or modified gross leases. In those examples, modified gross leases, there typically are base year increases. You would select this option, and you would select the base year amount. You would type in the base year amount, I should say, $15,000, for instance. So in this example, what this shows is the tenant is responsible for real estate taxes above $15,000. So if, let's say, the taxes are $25,000, the tenant would be responsible for 20% of 25,000 minus 15,000. We have other videos that show that provide a lot more detail or examples of this, and you can view our YouTube channel to see those videos as well. So for this example, again, we're going to assume that this is a triple net lease. So this is what the settings would look like. Admin fee, whether or not the tenant is responsible for admin fees. I'll leave this blank. Late fees, percent, and let's say 5%. Next, here we go into the rent breakdown section or the rent schedule. They're different, again, depending on the lease terms, there are different rent escalations or rent schedules based on what the lease says. But in this example, let's assume the rent is $2,500 and it increases 3% every year. So we're going to use this section to automatically fill this up for us. The escalation information is here. So escalation starts 01/01/2024, 3% every 1 year, right? If the lease increases 10% every 2 years, this is what it would look like, or every five years typically. So we're going to go with 3% every year based on what the lease is. Base rent, click autofill, done. right? So this puts in the schedule. Now, if we have a tenant that has options or options to extend the lease, again, typical in commercial real estate, we can do this here. And let's say their option starts in 2033, ends in 37, starting amount 3,300. Escalation starts 34, 3% every year. And this is an option. Option number 1 notifies in 120 days. This is when the tenant is required to notify you of their intent to exercise the option. I'll click autofill, and the system would add the option section, again, at 3% increase. So we have a 10-year lease with 1 5-year option. Next, we're going to add additional charges. Again, there are different ways of, well, the additional charge section is for things outside, or for charges outside of base rent, that are considered additional rent or additional charges. Typically, what they are is common charges, taxes, and insurance. So if your tenant is a triple net tenant, they're responsible for monthly payments of CAM, tax, insurance. You would add this here. So let's do that. So we're going to add real estate taxes, say $675. Occurrence is monthly, category is taxes, and no end date. So this adds a monthly charge for real estate taxes. We'll add one more. Charges, $275. Monthly CAM, no end date. And we'll add one more for insurance. Again, occurrence could be monthly, once, or annual. Typically it's monthly. Some tenants pay annually or biannually. So in an example of biannually, what you would do is just to set up 2 annual charges. But again, we're going to go monthly in our example. Insurance. One date, save. And that's it. Now we have the rent and additional rent right here. Let's click next. Any notes? Again, if you want to, feel free to put some notes or comments in the last section. I'm going to skip this and click finish. Yes. So now we've done creating a tenant. We can go back to properties, click on the property, and now we see that we have a tenant right here, Big Apple Deli. What we could do next is make sure that we have all of their contact information filled in correctly. So we're going to go into tenant info. I'll skip this. On the tenant info, we can add additional addresses. So we can click here, add address. Okay, so, and again, you can add multiple addresses here. This is quite handy when you have a national tenant, for instance, with multiple contacts. Their, I guess, accounts payable department or lease administration department and so on, and you can save all this information here. Now to change the primary address of the tenant, you can click here and select this address now, right? So if you want the primary and the mailing address to be his home address or the tenant's home address, you could do this right here. Same thing for the landlord's address. If you want to change from the management address that we selected earlier to the owner, you could do that here as well. Okay, so here we can click on rent details just to double check or to review what we've entered when we created the tenant. It has all of the information, our rent and additional rent, tax, cam, and insurance information, the monthly additional charges. All right, notes. This will be the communication log. You can add anything here by clicking add. And as the system does anything like creating an invoice or sending an invoice, it will automatically add items to this communication log automatically. Notes, you can add notes, upload documents, you can upload a lease here. Click add and choose a file from your computer to upload a copy of the lease to the system. And financials tab, this is again, it's all empty at the moment. Financials would be financials specifically for this tenant, right? So we'll show the invoices, payments, credits, and so on. So the only credit right now is a security deposit, which is $10,000. All right, so let me go and create the other tenants, and we'll move on to the next step of creating invoices after we're done creating all the other tenants. All right, so we went ahead and created 2 more tenants. Now we have a property that is fully occupied with 3 tenants: a deli, Metro PCS cell phone store, and a donuts and coffee shop. All right, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to create invoices, that is rental invoices for these 3 tenants. I'm going to click on invoicing on the top menu and then dashboard. On this dashboard, we're going to see the property. Now, if we obviously had more properties, we would see all of them here. This screen shows the name of the property, the current invoice cycle, number of invoices in this particular invoice cycle, which is 0 of 3. We don't have any invoices, open balances, collected balances, and last creation or the creation date of the invoices. So we don't have any invoices. So what we're going to do is we're going to select the property and we're going to click create invoices right here on the bottom. It's going to prompt us and ask us, do we want to create invoices for the month of November of 2023? We can say yes, or we can change the invoice cycle to November or any other month that we want to. So we're going to keep it as November. We're going to click create invoices. Now the system will go ahead and start creating invoices in 1 second. Now they're created, so we have 3 invoices for the month of November. Now to view all of them, we'll just click view invoices. Right, and now this will take us to the invoice page. The other way to get to the invoice page is when you have invoices, you can click invoicing and invoices, and this will take you to the invoice page. Right, so this shows the property and the 3 invoices, obviously each 1 invoice per tenant. And as you click on each one of them, you'll see the charges right here. Okay. Some of the things you could do on this screen, you can upload documents. So let's say you want to add charges to the deli, for instance. If you want to add another charge like water, for example, or any other utility charge, you can click charges, add charge, $50, for example, water. Category would be water, add charge. And if you want to upload a backup of the charge, you can click select files and upload a copy of the invoice so the tenant could see that as well. Again, we could do this to other tenants as well. You can add a charge, $50 gas, electric. You can upload multiple files. All right, so now that the invoices for the month of November are created and you want to email them out to your tenants, you can select the invoices you want to email, select all of them. You can select individual and actions, email invoices. Now the email address is automatically populated from the tenant contacts page. We've only put in an email for the deli store, but we haven't put an email for these two tenants. To put the email to these specific tenants, you can navigate to the tenant info page and just add the contacts there. And the email is pulled from the primary address of the tenant. And if you remember how we set that, you should be able to do the same thing for these tenants. So let's just send them to myself. I'll show you what the email looks like. And you can send a CC copy to anyone in your company or anyone else. Again, I'm going to skip this. You can add a custom message if you'd like. Again, I'm going to skip this and just click send. All right, so this would generate an invoice being sent to your tenants by email. If you refresh this, you're going to see an icon here that the email has been sent. And we'll show you what the email looks like. All right, so I've received the emails and this is what the email looks like. You can have your own logo. So there's the fact that there's no logo here, that's why it's missing, but you can upload your logo in UnitConnect if you have one, or it could be blank. Now this is what the tenant would receive. So they receive a link to their invoice, they can click on it, they'll see the invoice, which they'll be able to print out and use to mail a check if they send rent by checks. Let's look at another example. So here's an example where we had some attachments, right? So basically, again, they can click on the invoice and they can click on attachments as well to see copies of attachments that were attached to the invoice. Okay, so let's assume you've received some payment from your tenants. Now, when you receive payment and you want to book payments, you'd again go to the invoicing page, select the invoice you want to apply payment against, and use this button, payment, and pay invoice. Now, this particular action assumes that you're paying the invoice in full. If you want to pay specific line items, so if let's say the tenant doesn't send you the full amount, but sends you a partial amount, you would select the items that you want to apply the payment to. So let's select these three, pay charges, and you can change the amount and then click pay charges. Okay, now we have some remaining balance. Let's go to the next tenant. Let's assume they pay you in full. Pay invoice. Now, if they pay you on time, you don't want to apply any late fees, you would just check this off and no late fees will be applied. And again, on the next tenant, we could do the same thing. Let's pay that invoice in full. No late fee. Here, we'll leave the late fee because the invoice is partially paid. Okay, so let's assume that now we're past November and we're ready to create invoices for December. What we're going to do is we're going to go again, invoice dashboard. I'm going to click on the property. We're going to click create invoices, and the system is going to tell you, are you ready to create basically invoices for December? And we're going to click create. Now we have the invoices for December. Let's click on view invoices. Now we're in the month of December. Let's click on the Big Apple Deli. What we're going to notice in this particular invoice is that there are some carryover charges from last month, right? For the month of November, the items that were not paid in full. So here they are, $1,150 up from last month. There's a late fee, $177.50, and these are the charges from this month, right? The current recurring charges, rent and additional rent. The other tenants have no prior charges, and they just have the current charges for the month of December. And that's all. We're going to navigate now to the homepage, so we could see all the different dashboards. Right, so we have outstanding balances, $20,227.50. This particular one, this shows the recent activity. Again, all we did is just generated invoices. There's no vacancies, nothing is expiring in 30 days, and we haven't collected any rent for the month of December. So we're looking at the month of December. That's why this shows as 0. Okay, so I think this concludes our video tutorial of how to set up your first property and how to generate invoices for your tenants.